There would have been levels of paranoia, you know. They thought the Jews said the Nazis were out to get them, you know. And that's what this whole thing is. You know, the big problem is the family court doesn't function as a court anymore. It's not interested in facts. It's interested in everybody getting along, everybody working things out. Now, in the vast majority of cases, where there's divorce and custody, absolutely. If I ran the world, and I keep petitioning, I can't figure out who to petition to yet to see who will give me that authority. But in the vast majority of custody cases, there would be no coming to the judge to work out nonsense. You go and you sit in a room and you work it out. You know, so you're going to be which holiday to what time to this part. How's the summer going to be split? You know, whatever. Who needs a judge to decide that? What does that have to do with judging? I don't know. It's somebody to make a decision because we have that option that you can go to court and do that because people don't know or don't believe that they have the power to do that themselves, and etc. However, in the case of abuse, domestic violence, addictions, or any sort of situation that impairs the welfare of the kids, then you have to do it differently. You have to figure out who is the dangerous person, who needs the protection, and then the court uses that full authority of the law to set that up and not allow any more nonsense. So you can go two tracks, depending on whether it's a situation where kids are in danger or kids aren't in danger. It seems to be a very, very, very difficult thing for courts to understand. Most states have what's called the friendly parent provision in their custody law. And you know, most states' custody laws give different criteria for who should get custody or what the court should take into account. You know, the parties, sometimes it's the time spent with the child before the divorce. Not enough jurisdictions is that a criteria. But you know, the relative mental health of the parents, the interest in the child's educational, emotional development, etc. And then there's one provision that's called the friendly parent provision, which says that the court should look at which parent is most or more likely to encourage the relationship between the child and the other parent. And that the parent who is more likely to encourage the relationship with the other parent and child is called the friendly parent, and that parent is the favored custodian. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. However, in dangerous situations, a parent shouldn't be encouraging that relationship. So therefore, by definition, by the way the statute is designed, the abusive parent is the favored parent. Because the protective parent is saying, well, I want to protect that child from that relationship. And rather than sort out the facts and figure out whether there's a reason or whether it's reasonable or legitimate, the court simply says, well, you're not encouraging the relationship, therefore the other parent gets custody. And I can assure you that the abusive parent knows that rule. And the abusive parent is always saying, oh yes, I want the child to have, but at the same time, you know, the abusive parent is out to make sure that the child has no relationship. So there are those things. Now, the other frustrating thing that I find with courts is, and you heard a lot of this in the film clips, is you really have to understand the mind of these abusers. And I do a lot of work with custody evaluators trying to get them to understand, because if you don't understand sexual abuse, you don't understand domestic violence, and you try to make decisions about these cases without the benefit of understanding, you will make the wrong decision. If you have a custody evaluator who looks at a case where there's domestic violence or abuse, the abusive parent will always come out better because they're calm, cool, and collected. Moms are frazzled, upset, angry, and want to talk about the abuse. And I cannot tell you how many times I go into court and take the depositions of these custody evaluators who have made these recommendations in these cases, and they know nothing about domestic violence, nothing about child sexual abuse, and don't believe it's even relevant to the custody decision. And it is absolutely perplexing. And sometimes I wonder, how, and the story's always the same. The mothers, enter these situations with the best hopes and dreams of a good life. They think they found a good partner, and they have these wonderful, beautiful, creative, terrific kids. And then you learn that somebody has a dark side. Like the guy at the Amish school. It's Ted Bundy. Everybody knows who Ted Bundy was. Ted Bundy, in his last interview, said something very profound. He said, something, I'm a normal guy. I went to law school, I had girlfriends, I had friends, but I had this dark corner where I would sadistically murder women. And I kept that from people. I was able to shield that from the light. And there are other people like me. And it's true. So we have to look at evidence. What is the evidence? And not make assumptions. But getting back to the custody evaluators, they know nothing about this. And so the abuses always come out ahead. And it's very, very perplexing. That's why this whole parental alienation syndrome is so insidious. And it's really a cancer in the family court system. And if you get this month's copy, the November copy of Oprah magazine, O magazine, and I think there's some good pumpkin recipes in there, and some good dressing, turkey, some kind of turkey thing. But there's also a very good article called The Rapist at Home, and it's about this type of case. And it goes through all the problems in these cases that sabotage the protection of these kids. And it talks about the custody evaluators. It talks about the guardians ad litem. Now, the guardians ad litem are, again, and that's why this whole system is so, if you come into this system as a law-abiding parent, and a lot of these moms who are so viciously attacked in the family court system are the assertive, competent, professional women who the courts view and the guardians ad litem view as uppity. How dare you challenge you? You do what we tell you, and if you don't like it, we punish you. But they come into the system, and they have heard, and you heard how Kathy and Small Justice said, I see these brochures everywhere I go that say what should you do if your child's being abused, or what should you do if you're a victim of domestic violence. So you come and you do these things. A lot of these moms never had a traffic ticket, never did anything. Always, in every other part of their lives, successes. Revered, esteemed, competent. So when they find themselves in a situation and they do what everybody says you're supposed to do when your child is in danger, it's you vindictive bitch, you don't want the child to have a relationship with the father. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you stay in the relationship, don't protect your kids, as you heard Judge Gothard say, going to take the kids away from you for failure to protect. If you do act, then you're going to lose custody because you don't want the child to have a relationship with the father. You're vindictive. So these moms go into these situations for the first time. They're involved with this legal system,